Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 116, the kickoff of the 10th arc, which is crazy to say, and it is a duel between two of the better duelists in the show, and that is Zwijo and Yuhi. So, generally speaking, what were my thoughts on the episode? I thought it was a good episode. I will say I think maybe my expectations were a little higher than normal, especially for like an earlier part of an arc, because usually with Go Rush, I find myself liking the duels and the episodes happening later on in the arc versus the earlier parts of the arc more often than not. I think because the duel was between two high-octane characters in Zwijo and Yuhi, I think my expectations were pretty high. But overall, I think the episode was good. It just wasn't, like, spectacular. That being said, for a arc-opening episode, it's probably one of the better ones, and that says a lot because I didn't think the episode was, like, great, but I feel like a lot of the arc openers are a little more on the slower side, more comedic, don't really get too much done. This was not the case. Like, even though, sure, maybe we didn't, like, advance the plot all that much, I still feel like it was a fun duel, and it was great to see Zuijo pick up another win. It's Yuhi's first 1v1 loss in 60 episodes. The last time Yuhi lost was against Tremolo. So Yuhi certainly, over the last, really the second half of the show, has been reminding me a little bit of Yuma, right? Kind of struggled early on as a duelist and then really became like an unstoppable force in the second half of Zexal. And I feel like Yuhi, that's kind of been what's happened to him. But of course, he does run into the Zuijo Buzzsaw and the Contact Fusion Buzzsaw. And since adding Contact Fusion to his resume, Zuijo has defeated Udius. He's defeated Yuhi now. But more importantly is Zuijo's demeanor in this episode. Obviously, we ended last arc with Yuhi joining Yumu. I don't think any of us believed that Yuhi wanted to join Yumu because he necessarily agreed with what Yumu was doing. He just rather felt like that was the only opportunity he was going to have to talk to his sister, and he was absolutely right. So, he leaves Udius, and we don't see anything from Udius and Co. in this episode, which actually I was fine with. I like that. We have to wait another episode to see how Udius is going to handle it, and this episode was just fully focusing on Yuumu's ship. I actually really did like that. I think that was a good pacing choice rather than bouncing back and forth between the two groups. And Yuhi is desperate to see his sister and talk to her, and Yumu has made it so that Yuhi is not able to visit her, right? All the dark men are guarding the room. All the cats are guarding the room. Yumu has kind of locked herself inside the room. She does not want to talk to anyone about what's going on. I think she may fear that she will be convinced that becoming Otis is not the only way or not the correct way. And she does not, well, not even convinced. Convinced is maybe the wrong word, but even persuaded. She just doesn't want to be bothered with it. She's made this decision, and she doesn't want to be bothered with anything or anyone that could potentially sway her in the opposite direction. At least that's how I view it. There was also a great shot of Yumu during this duel where, you have the classic villain, like glasses being like silhouetted out. That's like such a classic, I feel like, villain look or classic conflicted character look in anime. And there was a point where Yumu had one half of her glasses filtered and the other half of her eyes and face looked more somber and sad. And I feel like that's kind of the inner battle and the duality that she's facing right now. She has isolated herself, and part of her knows she has to become Otis. There's another part of her that knows there's a lot of people that care about her, including Yuhi, and that she's going to have to pretty much force Yuhi to forget about her through Monster Reborn, and is never going to be able to have that same dynamic, and probably will never be able to convince Yuhi that this was the right thing to do. And so I loved that shot of Yumu. Felt like that was a really good kind of duality shot there between two conflicting emotions. Granted, we didn't really hear from Yumu a lot. I like that they're kind of keeping her separate right now because it builds up that anticipation of what she's going to be like when we finally do get to see her in motion a little more. So I did like that decision as well in this episode. The other element of this episode that I actually really did enjoy was Zuijo telling Yuhi that he was unworthy of seeing Yumu. and that he doesn't have the same resolve that Yumu has. And I feel like this kind of goes back to even the beginning of the show, where, you know, Yuhi and Yumu are twins, so you think, okay, they're going to be like running a company or inheriting a company together. You know, I know the kind of normal society structure in a lot of cultures says, well, it's the son who gets the leadership role, but that really wasn't the case here, right? Yumu was the president. It wasn't even like they were both presidents, right? Yumu was the president, and Yuhi was the one always trying to work for promotions. And so I feel like even going back to the early stages of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush, Zuijo is kind of referencing that a little bit, that Yumu is the one who has this strong will, this determination, this unstoppable belief that she's going to be able to accomplish great things, whereas Yuhi just doesn't have the same resolve. And I feel like that really resonated with Yuhi because of how angry he got based on what Zuijo was telling him. I think emotions are a great indicator of how true a statement is, right? If somebody says something about me that I know is completely untrue, I feel like it's going to be easier for me to just brush that off because it's like, well, you know, it's not true. This person's just talking complete crap. But if somebody says something about me that is true or is something that I actually have like an insecurity over, that's going to either cause me to be angry. I'm not really an angry person. I'm just, you know, saying this as an example, or be a little shaken mentally. And I feel like Yuhi, from the very beginning of this duel, even before this duel started, this is like the angriest that we've seen Yuhi. He's angry and frustrated at what's going on with his sister. He's angry and frustrated at the fact that he can't speak with his sister. And now he's angry and frustrated at Zuijo for once again being vague, once again being ominous, and for Zuijo just straight up insulting him. But the fact is, I think Yuhi deep down knows that what Zuijo is saying is kind of true, and that's why Yuhi got so angry at Zuijo. And as we've seen many times throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, if you get angry, if you get tilted, you are going to struggle. And in a lot of cases, you are going to lose a duel. If you're playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, Madden, 2K, doesn't matter. If you're getting angry and frustrated at the game, you're going to play worse 9 times out of 10. That's just how it happens. Like, you need to be in a good space mentally in order to compete. I'm sure with Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Duel Links, it's the same thing. If you're getting angry and annoyed, your ability to make misplays and mistakes increases. Not saying Yuhi made any misplays in this duel, but I still think it rings true. As soon as he was like angry, just had a feeling he was going to lose. So how does Yuhi bounce back from this? It'll be interesting. Kind of had a comedic ending where Yuhi, you know, had to become a dark man, and then all the dark men around him were just kind of like making him eat mochi. But, you know, it's a comedic ending, but it doesn't change the emphasis of this episode that Yuhi is unable to reach Yumu literally and figuratively, and that is obviously going to be a really big goal of his going forward, and we'll see if he's able to accomplish it. Yumu, as soon as the duel ended, even seemed very upset, you know, called him an idiot, and made it seem like she had some sort of plan for Yuhi. I don't know what she's necessarily theorizing there. Maybe she's just talking in general because she knows she's going to have to wipe his memory in order to accomplish this plan. But I thought that was an interesting shot of Yumu. So, again, it'll be really, really interesting to see the dynamic. And I did love how for an arc finale, we are, like, right into it. There's no joke duel. There's no random one-off goofy character. I like that we are, like, still remaining with the storyline from the previous arc. We're in the final third of the show. Let's ramp it up. And even though the episode, you know, was, I didn't think, like, amazing, I thought it was very good for an arc opener. Last thing I want to talk about really quickly, Zuijo. Best character in the show for me. I think he's up there. He's one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals we've ever seen. I think he's one of the best characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! I really do. I love the mortality line that he faces. And I love that he said, we have a way, trying to appeal to him, right? We have a way to bring back Tinhua. We have a way to bring back Muda. And what does Zuijo says? He says, we were meant to die. We were meant to expire. And the fact that I'm here now is unnatural. And I'm going to support Yumu in whatever she has to do because I believe in her resolve. Going into this episode, I thought Zuijo was not actually on the Darkmeister's side. After this episode, I'm more 50-50. Like, I could still see Zuijo just, like, lying right now to manipulate some sort of objective that he has, but I could also see him, like, actually trying to help Yumu in finishing off her goal. And he has been her greatest weapon of this season so far. Defeating Yugioh, getting the curry, now defeating Yuhi and stopping Yuhi from getting to her. Like, he has been her greatest weapon, and it helps Yumu that she has probably the toughest duelist in the show on her side in Zuijo. So seeing that dynamic get furthered would be really, really interesting. But I think Zuijo's character, you could really do a great deep dive analysis into mortality and, you know, what it means to be alive and death. And, you know, it's just been so profound what his character has done and has represented. And I have absolutely loved it. And he is a man right now who knows that he should not be alive. And the person that, you know, brought him back to life, being Yumu, he wants to help her complete her goals. And he is not, seemingly as far as we know, focused at all on bringing back Dinhwa or Muda. In fact, it seems the opposite. It seems he has no interest in bringing them back because he feels that their death was natural. And I think that is so, so fascinating and so opposite with what we see with a lot of characters, right? If you have a chance to escape death, if you have a chance to bring back a loved one, you're going to, 9 times out of 10, you're going to bring them back at the first chance you get. But it's different with Zuijo because he was trying to feel alive for all those years, right? He had that immortality, kept being reborn, and then he finally was able to die, and he finally accepted it, and he was okay with it, and he was happy, and now he's back, and I mean, it's so good. It's so profound. I really love it. And the fact that Zuijo now is on Yuumu's team and is going to probably be a pretty major player going forward is really, really good and really, really good for this show. So, guys, those are my thoughts on episode 116. Would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Please let me know your thoughts on the opening episode of arc number 10, any predictions you have, and anything that you think maybe I may have missed on. Would love to hear from all of you down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.